Captain Ray Carter had always dreamed of exploring the stars. He had trained for years, studied many alien worlds, and flown through deep space. But nothing could prepare him for what happened on this strange green planet. His spaceship, the Horizon, had hit something, maybe a storm, maybe a weapon. He didn't know. One moment, he was flying over a quiet sector. The next, alarms screamed. Lights flashed and his ship spun out of control. Then dashed darkness. When Ray opened his eyes, he was lying in grass. The sky above him was light purple. Giant trees stood nearby with glowing leaves. He felt pain in his shoulder and leg. His helmet was cracked, and his suit was damaged. "I'm alive," he whispered. He sat up slowly. His ship had crashed far away. Smoke rose from the broken metal pieces. He could not reach it yet. He needed rest. He needed help, but he was not alone. From behind a tree, something watched him. It moved silently, almost like a shadow. Ray felt it more than saw it. A soft rustling in the grass. A strange feeling in his chest. Then she stepped out. The creature was tall, maybe 7 feet. She looked like a mix of human and cat. Smooth silver skin. Big yellow eyes. Long hair like dark threads of silk. Her movements were calm but strong, like a hunter in the forest. Ray froze. His heart beat fast. Was she dangerous? She came closer. Ray couldn't move. Then something very strange happened. She leaned down and licked his face. Yes, a slow, warm lick across his cheek, like a cat, but different, almost gentle. Like a greeting dot, Ray stared at her in shock. She looked into his eyes for a moment. Then, without a word, she turned and vanished into the trees. Ray sat there, confused and silent. He touched his face. Did she just lick me? For the next few hours, Ray rested under a large tree. He tried to fix his broken communicator, but it didn't work. His food pack was almost empty. He needed to find water. He needed to survive. But more than anything, he needed to understand what just happened. Was she real, or just a dream from the crash? That night, he built a small fire with dry branches. He didn't sleep much. He kept hearing sounds. Soft footsteps. Leaves moving. Like someone walking nearby, but never coming close. In the morning, Ray woke up to something surprising. A small bundle of fruit lay beside him. Purple, round, and clean. Next to it, a leaf folded into a cup with fresh water inside. He looked around. No one, but someone had left it for him. Was it her? Ray ate the fruit. It was sweet. The water was clean. He felt better. But the questions in his mind grew bigger. Why did she help him? Why did she lick his face? Was it a warning? A message? Or something else? Days passed. Each night he heard her nearby. Each morning he found food and water. Once even a soft animal skin blanket. She was helping him, watching him, but staying hidden. Ray started talking to her, even if she didn't answer. "I don't know who you are," he said one evening, staring into the forest, "but thank you for saving me." He still remembered the moment she licked his face. It kept playing in his mind. Again and again. Maybe for her people, it was a way of speaking. Maybe it meant something very important. On the 5th night, Ray sat by his fire, drawing shapes in the dirt with a stick. He was trying to make a map. Then he felt it again. It's the same quiet rustle. The same soft breath on his neck. He turned slowly. She was there, closer than before. Not afraid. He didn't move, didn't speak. She walked to him slow, careful. Her eyes shining in the FIRELIGHT. Ray put out his hand. She looked at it, then licked his hand. Slowly, gently. Ray felt chills run down his spine. He didn't understand, but something in his heart said, this was not a threat. This was trust, or a bond. She stepped back and disappeared again. Ray looked at the spot where she stood. "I need to know what that means," T whispered, "before it's too late." Captain Ray Carter couldn't stop thinking about her. The alien female who licked his face. He had never seen anything like her before. She was tall, graceful, and powerful. Her glowing yellow eyes saw everything. She moved like wind through trees, quiet and fast. She gave him food, water, and warmth. She even risked coming close again just to lick his hand. Ray didn't understand what it meant. But deep inside, he knew one thing: she had saved his life. And now he wanted answers. It had been 7 days since the crash. His ship was still too far, surrounded by sharp rocks and smoking metal. His broken leg was healing slowly, thanks to strange herbs she left nearby. They smelled bad, but worked fast. She knew things. Things that could help him, but she never spoke. Not a word. Only that strange, soft lick. First on his face, then on his hand. Ray built a small shelter using sticks and large leaves. He used broken ship parts to make tools. Every morning he found gifts outside: fruit, water, herbs. She was watching him, helping him. But why was she curious? Or did she need him? One afternoon, Ray tried something different. He took a stick and drew on the dirt. A simple drawing, himself, a human stick figure. Then next to it, her shape tall, with cat-like ears. Between them, he drew a question mark. He stepped back and waited. Hours passed. Nothing. But the next morning, his drawing had changed. Next. To her figure, she had drawn a strange symbol. A swirl with 2 lines through it. Ray stared at it. "Is this your name?" He smiled. He pointed at the symbol and said, "You, Lyra." It felt right. The name sounded like wind and stars. Lyra. From deep in the forest, something rustled. He didn't see her, but he knew she heard him. That day, something new happened. Ray walked farther into the trees, hoping to find her. He followed broken branches, small footprints. Then, in a clearing, he found something that froze his blood. Claw marks, long, deep, and sharp on the trees, on the rocks. Something had fought here and lost. There were pieces of dark blue skin, not Lyra's. Something else lived here, and it was dangerous suddenly. Ray heard a growl behind him. He turned on, saw glowing red eyes in the shadows. Not Lyra. Something bigger, something meaner. A beast tall as a house, covered in dark spikes. It roared and rushed at him. Ray ran at his heart, pounded. His legs burned. The trees flew past him. But the monster was fast. Then just when Ray thought it was over, Lyra appeared. She leaped from the trees, holding a long spear made of bone. She screamed a sound Ray never heard before, a loud, high-pitched war cry. She attacked the beast without fear. The fight was brutal, fast. The ground shook. Ray hid behind a rock, watching. With wide eyes, in just a few minutes, it was over. Lyra stood tall. The beast lay dead at her feet. She was hurt, her arm bleeding, but she walked to Ray, calm as ever. Ray stood up. "You saved me." Again she looked at him, breathing hard. Then, with tired eyes, she stepped forward and licked his face. That night, Ray couldn't sleep. He watched Lyra from the firelight. She cleaned her wound with tree sap. Her skin was tough, but not unbreakable. She wasn't a goddess. She was flesh and blood. She risked her life for him. Why? What did he mean to her? In the morning, he tried again. He drew more pictures in the dirt. Him, her, the beast, the fight. Then he drew a heart between them. Lyra looked at it. She tilted her head. Then she gently scratched the heart away and drew her symbol again. She pointed to herself, then to Ray, then drew a circle around them. Both Ray stared. Not love, bond. He wasn't her mate. He was hers. Part of her clan. Her responsibility, her person to protect. The lick was not a kiss. It was a mark, a symbol. A claim. Ray felt something deep inside. A strange warmth, a connection. He nodded slowly. I understand now. Lyra stood up. She turned and walked into the trees again. Ray watched her disappear, and for the first time, he felt something new on this alien world. Not fear, trust. The sun rose slowly on the strange planet. Its soft purple light touched the trees, the grass, and the small shelter Captain Ray Carter had built from leaves, broken ship metal, and hope. But Ray wasn't inside the shelter. He was outside drawing. In the dirt again, he drew stick figures, circles, stars, arrows, pointing to the sky. He was trying to talk, not with words, with pictures. Because the alien, Lyra, didn't speak his language. But maybe, just maybe, she could understand his drawings. He drew himself, then her. Then the beast she killed. Then he drew his ship, broken, and a question mark beside it. He stood up and waited. He didn't have to wait long. Lyra stepped out of the forest like smoke, drifting through the trees, quiet, watching. Her eyes looked at the drawings. Her tail moved slowly, like a rhythm to thoughts. She knelt down beside the pictures, and then she added her own. Her claw scratched into the dirt quickly, an image of a round shape. Many legs and a smaller shape beneath it. Ray leaned in. It looked like an egg. Lyra touched the egg, then pointed to herself. Then drew a jagged line between her and it. Ray stared. Was she saying she lost something? A child? A family? He didn't know the full meaning, but something inside him understood the feeling pain. Over the next few days, they spent more time together. They didn't speak, they watched, they learned. Ray made tools. Lyra watched. Lyra hunted small animals, with silent movements. Ray watched. He learned she liked silence. She didn't like sudden moves. But she laughed softly when he fell into a bush chasing a bug. A quiet, clicking laugh. They were different, so different. But something was building between them. Understanding. One evening, Ray sat near the fire. He pulled out an old device from his backpack. It was cracked, but still worked, a music player. He pressed a button. A slow song began to play. Soft piano notes. Lyra tilted her head. She had never heard music before. She moved closer, wide, ears twitching with each note. Then she did something surprising. She touched his chest gently, then slowly. She licked his face again. This time, Ray didn't flinch. He just looked at her. He pointed to himself. Ray. He pointed to her. Lyra. She stared at him. Then she closed her eyes and said softly, for the first time, Ray. Ray's heart jumped. She said his name. She understood. She was learning. From that day, everything changed. They started to build their own language. A mix of sounds, signs, pictures, and small words. Food, he'd say, holding up a fruit. Food, she would repeat. Food. She would repeat, food. She would repeat, mai. Ni. When he drew a tree and said tree, she said shri. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. One day, Lyra pointed to the sky and said, home. Ray shook his head. Not yet. She nodded. She seemed to understand, but she also seemed sad. Later that week, Ray woke to find Lyra gone. He called out, Lyra. No answer. Hours passed. He followed her trail deeper into the jungle, past glowing flowers and whispering trees. Then he found her. She sat in front of a broken Nuzbor kiss. She sat in front of a broken stone statue on alien face carved into rock. The face looked like hers. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Ray sat beside her. She didn't move. She just whispered a word again and again. Kata, kata. He didn't ask what it meant. He just sat with her. Sometimes silence is the best language. That night Lyra returned with something in her hands, small box with buttons. Alien tech. She opened it. Inside, a hologram lit up. An old recording. It showed her people. Tall, proud, peaceful, then fire. Weapons. A war. The sky falling. Ray watched in shock. She pointed to the attackers, large creatures, the same species as the one she fought earlier. Ray understood. Now her people were almost gone. She was one of the last, and she had chosen to help. Him, a human. The next morning, Ray found a surprise outside his shelter. Not food, not water, but a gift. A necklace made of crystal and wood. Simple, but beautiful. He picked it up and held it. Lyra stepped out of the trees. Ray smiled. For me? She nodded. He placed it around his neck, and for the first time, he felt like he belonged. Not to Earth, not to his ship, but here. With her, with Lyra. He looked at her, she looked at him. And though they said nothing, they both knew. Something important had begun. Ray sat by the fire, holding the crystal necklace in his hands. It felt warm, like it had been touched by sunlight, or maybe memory. Lyra had given it to him the night before. No words, just a simple look and a soft nod since the crash. She had saved him, fed him, taught him how to live on this planet. But now, something was changing. It wasn't just survival anymore. It was something deeper. But what? And why did she keep licking him? That morning, Ray followed Lyra into the forest. She walked ahead, like always, silent, sure, strong. She moved through trees like she belonged to them. Ray had learned not to speak too much. She preferred quiet. She listened with her eyes. They stopped at a rocky hill covered in vines. Lyra pulled back the plants, revealing a hidden path. Ray raised an eyebrow. Where are we going? She didn't answer, just gave him a quick glance, sent a tiny smile. They walked through the dark tunnel under the hill. It was cold, wet. The air smelled like moss and dust. Then they stepped into a wide open space. Ray's breath caught in his throat. It was an ancient temple, stone walls, tall pillars, carvings everywhere, stories in pictures. The ceiling opened to the sky. Light poured in like golden rain, and on the far wall there was a large painting, 2 figures. One looked like Lyra, the other looked almost human. They stood side by side, surrounded by glowing symbols. Ray stepped closer. I've seen this before, Kay whispered. Lyra pointed to the human figure, then to Ray. Then she pointed to the tall figure, her own kind, to herself. Then she reached out and licked his face again. This time, slow, deliberate, eyes closed. Ray didn't pull back. He just stood there. Heart beating fast. Lyra stepped away and touched a symbol on the wall. It began to glow. The air around them shimmered, and then the wall showed a memory. A hologram. A living recording. It showed 2 beings, one human, one alien, just like the painting. They met during a war. They didn't speak the same language, but the alien licked the human's face, just like Lyra did. Then they fought side by side. Then they shared water, then food. Then the alien placed a glowing symbol on the human's chest. A bond, not marriage, not love, something older, something sacred, a ritual, a vow. The image faded. Ray stood frozen. He turned to Lyra. Is that what you're doing to me? She didn't answer with words. She stepped forward, took his hand, and placed it on her chest, right over her heart. Then she spoke one word. Sorry. Ray whispered it back. Sorry. She nodded slowly. then drew a circle in the air around them both. Later that night, Ray sat alone, thinking. The lick wasn't a random gesture. It was a ceremony, a mark of connection, not romantic. Not exactly, but ancient, powerful, a kind of chosen protection, a sacred responsibility. Ray had been claimed. Not as property, but as something more important, as someone worth guarding, someone chosen. The next morning, he woke to find something painted on his skin right over his heart. A faint symbol, glowing slightly, the same one from the wall in the temple. Ray touched it, surprised. Lyra walked up and looked at him. She nodded like a teacher, proud of her student. She licked her hand and pressed it to the symbol on his chest. A final step in the ritual. Ray didn't flinch. He looked her in the eyes. "I accept," he said softly, even if she didn't know his words. She understood his tone. She smiled, not just with her lips, with her eyes, but in the shadows of the jungle. Something else was watching, something big, something not happy, something that didn't like the idea of a bond between species. Red eyes blinked, claws twitched. The bond had begun, but the real test was coming. The jungle was never quiet. Ray had learned that by now, but this night, the sounds were different. Louder, sharper. Danger was coming. He sat beside the fire, feeling the strange symbol glowing faintly on his chest. It pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and strong. Lyra was nearby, watching the trees. Her yellow eyes scanned the dark like a hawk's. Ray felt her tension. Something was wrong. Suddenly, a branch snapped. Lyra's muscles tensed. She hissed, loud, most. Like a warning, Ray stood slowly, trying to see through the thick darkness. Eyes red and cold glowed. In the shadows, they were not alone. Ray's heart raced. From the trees, large creatures stepped out, tall, spiked. Terrifying, the same beasts Lyra had fought before. They growled low, circling the fire. Ray and Lyra stood back to back. The bond between them pulsed. Stronger, Lyra's hand went to the spear she had made. Ray held a broken piece of metal, his only weapon. The creatures tacked. Lyra moved like lightning. Her spear sliced through the air. She fought with a power and skill that amazed Ray. But the beasts were many. They came from all sides. Ray swung the metal piece, but it barely slowed them. One creature lunged at him. Ray stumbled. Pain shot through his leg. He fell. Lyra screamed a sharp, fierce cry that cut through the night. She fought harder, closer to Ray now. One beast grabbed him with sharp claws. Lyra dove between them. Her spear pierced the beast's throat. It fell. Ray gasped for air. The creatures hesitated. Lyra growled. Her eyes burned bright. The beasts backed away. Slowly, the jungle fell silent again. Ray looked at Lyra. She was breathing hard. Her arm was bleeding. But she stood strong. He touched the glowing symbol on his chest. It felt warm, like a promise, like a shield. That night, Ray and Lyra sat near the fire. Ray tried to speak. I don't know if I can do this," he said simply. Lyra looked at him with steady eyes. She licked his face, a slow, soft lick. Ray smiled weakly. He understood now. The lick was more than a mark. It was a bond, a vow to protect each other. Days passed. The jungle felt alive with danger, but Ray and Lyra grew closer. They learned to move as one, to watch, to listen, to trust. Their bond gave them strength. One morning, Ray woke to find Lyra gone. Panic hit him. He searched the forest. Then he heard a soft cry. Following the sound, he found her in a small clearing. She held a strange device alien, and she pointed to the device, then to the sky, then to Ray. She needed help. The threat was bigger than they thought. Together, they prepared. Ray knew The battle was not over. They were not alone on this planet, but they had each other, and that made all the difference. The jungle was calm now, but the tension between Ray and Lyra was stronger than ever. They had faced danger together. They had survived. But the threat still hung over them like a dark cloud. Ray sat near the fire, staring at the strange symbol glowing softly on his chest. It was more than a mark, it was a connection, a link between him and Lyra. He remembered the first time she licked his face. It had been strange, confusing. Now it held a new meaning: protection, trust, bond. Lyra watched him quietly, her yellow eyes soft but fierce. She didn't speak much, but her presence said everything. She stepped closer, reaching out her hand. This time, Ray didn't hesitate. He took it. They stood together, heartbeats almost in sync then. Lyra did something new. She began a ritual slow, careful. She licked his face again. But this time, it was different. Not just a greeting, not just a mark. It was a promise. She took a small blade made of bone and gently touched Ray's chest where the glowing symbol was. Ray felt a sharp sting, but it was not painful. It was like the symbol was being sealed into his skin. Lyra traced the shape with her fingers, soft, loving. The bond was real now. Ray looked at her and smiled. "I'm yours," he said simply. Lyra nodded. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "Sorry," she said again. Ray repeated the word, feeling its power. It meant bond, a bond that could not be broken. Over the next days, Ray and Lyra trained together. She showed him how to move silently through the jungle, how to listen to the wind and watch the shadows, how to fight with strength and honor. Ray taught her about earth, music, about stars, about hope they shared. Stories without words, their bond grew deeper with every passing moment. One night, as stars filled the sky, Lyra showed Ray a hidden place, a cave filled with ancient symbols and glowing stones. "This is my home," she said. Ray looked around. Amazed, the cave pulsed with energy. He felt it, too, the power of the bond. It was not just between them. It connected her to her people, to the planet, to something greater. But the peace did not last long in the distance. Ray heard the roar of engines, metal beasts, flying through the sky. The enemy was coming back, stronger, faster, more dangerous. Lyra looked at Ray with determination. "This is our fight," she said. Ray nodded. Together, they prepared. Not just as allies, not just as friends, but as bonded warriors. The bond had changed. Everything. It gave them strength when fear came. It gave them hope when all seemed lost. And most of all, it gave them each other. The sun rose behind the jagged mountains, casting long shadows over the jungle. Captain Ray Carter stood beside Lyra, his protector, his bond. The glowing symbol on his chest pulsed steadily, stronger now than ever. The enemy was near. Metal ships darkened the sky, their engines roaring like thunder. Ray's heart pounded, but he felt no fear. Not with Lyra by his side. They had trained. They had fought. And now it was time for the final battle. Lyra moved through the jungle like a shadow, silent and swift. Ray followed, steady and ready. Their bond guided them. Their minds connected. Without words, ahead, the enemy forces landed, machines and soldiers pouring into the forest like a flood. Ray gripped his weapon, a mix of human metal and alien technology Lyra had helped him build. They fought together. Side by side, Lyra's spear flashed through the air, striking down enemies with fierce precision. Ray fired his weapon, aiming carefully, protecting Lyra when danger came close. The battle raged. At one point, a large enemy beast charged toward Red, its claws sharp as knives. Ray stood firm, But the beast was faster. It leaped. Ray stumbled backward. Lyra appeared instantly, catching the beast's neck with her strong arms. She slammed it to the ground, her spear piercing its heart. Ray caught his breath. The bond between them shone bright, like a shield, as the fight continued. Ray spotted his damaged ship in the clearing. Beyond the trees, it was the way home. He pointed toward it. Lyra nodded. They fought harder, pushing the enemy back. Finally, the jungle was silent. The enemy had fled or fallen. Ray and Lyra stood alone, exhausted, but alive. Ray touched the glowing symbol on his chest. Lyra licked his face, gently as soft. Familiar gesture, he smiled. He knew what it meant now. Ray climbed into the ship, working quickly to repair the controls. Lyra helped, her knowledge of the alien technology guiding him. The engines roared to life. The ship shook. It was ready. Before taking off, Ray looked at Lyra. "Come with me," he said simply. She hesitated. The jungle was her home, but Ray was now her bond. He reached out his hand. Lyra took it. The ship lifted into the sky, leaving the planet behind. Ray looked at Lyra, feeling hope. Their worlds were different, but their bond was real, stronger than anything, as stars filled the windows. Ray whispered, "Now I know what that lick meant, and I'm glad I didn't stop her." Lyra smiled softly. They faced the future together.